Namaste. This is Dr. Joseph Martin here. I'd like to present to you, for your interest and your exploration, a wonderful gentleman who I'm very familiar with, and his name is Swami Vivekananda. He's well known in India and around the world, and he was born in India in 1863, and he passed over into spirit again in 1902. He is known to be the reincarnation of a great rishi, an ancient saint, who's had many, many lifetimes in India and in the Buddhist tradition as well. Swami Vivekananda is somebody very close to my heart. I'm aware from all my training in Ayurvedic medicine and in Jyotish, which is Eastern Vedic hand reading, palm reading, and astrology, that I had a life with Swami Vivekananda at the time he was in that body. I was one of his fellow monks in India. And again, when in this life, when I came into this life consciously, as you can read about in my spiritual autobiography, Living in Two Worlds, I was aware that Vivekananda came with me into this world and supported me through some very challenging, treacherous times as a young infant and child, and supported me spiritually and energetically and gave me lots of guidance. Why is Swami Vivekananda important for our time and for all time? There are so many reasons. He was born into a very devout family in India, but he had a yearning for knowing God personally on a one-to-one basis in a time in India where this was really not known very much. He traveled throughout India from the east, the west, the north, and the south to find one man who knew God personally, and he found finally such a man in Sri Rama Krishna. Rama Krishna is a great holy saint of India and known by every family in India, and in fact now is known worldwide. Ramakrishna was a gay monk who also had a female devotee who he was married to. Sri Sharada Devi is her name, and I will do further videos on these two wonderful, masterful, mystical, practical people. Uh, but Ramakrishna was so enamored with meeting this Ramakrishna and his wife that Vivekananda decided to become a monk and take the vows, and found some of his other sisters and brothers who were willing to do the same, become monks and nuns, and stay at the Ramakrishna Mat in Bangalore. Now, Vivekananda was a very trained mind. He studied philosophy early on in his life, and he did a lot of graduate work in philosophy. He understood and trained and read all of the Western philosophers, Hume, Hobbes, Spinoza, and so on and so on. But he was the one who was responsible for bringing true Vedanta philosophy, that is Advaita Vedanta philosophy, back to India and the people in India and then worldwide. Advaita Vedanta is important for us because it is the one earliest and most overarching truth of all philosophical spiritual sciences. It shows and deems and purports to acknowledge and express the oneness of all the universe and all light in one particular source, which that source is hidden within us. The great message of Vivekananda is that all living beings, including other beings besides human beings, are emanations and aspects of the one divinity of the cosmos and the created universe. It's quite an extraordinary thing, and I'm sure you're all in the process of learning to experience this for yourselves. Swami Vivekananda also, I feel, was someone who was a predecessor to Gandhi because his Vedanta is a path of freedom, personal freedom and collective social freedom for all living beings, not just two-legged humans. And so Gandhi was able to stand on the shoulders of Vivekananda when he freed India from the British Empire. Vivekananda is well known in India. His birthday, January the 12th, is celebrated as National Indian Youth Day. And the smallest island, or the smallest part of India, at the tip, below the tip of India, is an island called Vivekananda Island. There is a temple there to Vivekananda. You can go to the temple in a little boat and go there to the island. And he was very fond of swimming. He was a very powerful, active athlete, and so he used to swim to this island, and they named it after him. Perhaps the most intriguing thing, and why we should be paying special attention to Vivekananda, is the fact that he was the first Hindu person to come to North America. In 1893, he was invited to address the World Congress of World Religions in Chicago at the Chicago's World Fair. And he did so with about 60 other people. For the first time, the different religions of the world were coming together to hear one another speak. This man, Vivekananda, a very youthful, strong man, was so powerful just in the magnetism of his open, loving heart that all he did was stand up with his lovely orange gold robe on as a Swami monk and said, "Sisters and brothers, I welcome you in the name of the oldest spiritual tradition on the planet." And immediately they all stood up and gave him a rousing applause and ovation, which apparently went on for 15 minutes. And that's all he had said. And then he gave a short address, all of which is completely printed in my autobiography, Vivekananda's Address to the Western World. He taught meditation and yoga to many people in America and Canada, and was very fond of Niagara Falls and Toronto, and stayed on Wolfe Island, which is a small island in the Thousand Islands just off Kingston, Ontario. I have been there, and I've actually sat on the rock where Vivekananda meditated. I felt such a power going through me. Vivekananda, being a philosopher, he has over 16 books that he's published, all in English translation now. There is a Rama Krishna Vivekananda Society in every country of the Western world now, with units in New York and in San Francisco and LA. All his books are available online as well. His books I have used for teaching yoga and meditation for about 35, 40 years now. My most interesting and famous one that I feel has gifted my students with a clarity of scientific spiritual knowledge that has not been repeated by anyone else except by the writings of Paramahansa Yogananda, in my humble estimation. His book, Vedanta Philosophy, outlines the total nature of the universe and how we as human individuals are sparks of that divine soul, love, and light. Also, there are steps to how to achieve that highest superconsciousness, cosmic consciousness, within all his books. Some of the other books that I've used in teaching studies on philosophy and spiritual mysticism, and of course, union with the divine, are Bhakti Yoga, which is heart yoga, sacrifice and service yoga, Karma Yoga, which is work and exercise yoga, and all the different kinds of yogas put together in Raja Yoga, or the King of Yogas. All wonderful books. Swami Vivekananda, if you meditate with him and ask him to come and bless you, can enlighten your mind with a simple structural awareness and knowledge of the highest consciousness known to human beings. It's my humble expectation or hope or knowledge even that his knowledge and his wisdom and his presence will be with us for another 5, 10, 15,000 years. I'm sure you'd like to see some images of Vivekananda. Here's one. Beautiful man, shows his strength, his inner wisdom. And actually one of my favorites, a very telling, serene image of Vivekananda. The clarity, the purity, the goodness, the kindness, the purposefulness, all of these aspects of Vivekananda are part of what your evolution in consciousness can be in your personal, spiritual, and psychological life. I hope that's a wonderful introduction to Swami Vivekananda, the Advaita Vedanta philosopher, saint, mystic, and sage, and that you have many great meditations with him in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. All blessings. Om Namah Shivaya.